Okay, I think majority students have joined, right? So let's start our session. So in our last session, we have started with the overview of Android. Okay, in that we have seen what is Android, what are the applications of Android, what are the features of Android. Okay, and after that we have also seen the architecture of Android, right? So in this architecture, again I'm repeating this, right? We have one Linux kernel, okay, and at the base these are the basic facilities what we are uh, going to use from the Android libraries, right? So that is power management, then flash memory drivers, whatever memories came up with your phone, then camera drivers, Wi-Fi drivers, display driver, keypad driver, whatever. So the base core, the base functionalities, whatever comes attached with your hardware and all that, so that resides within the Linux kernel itself. At the top of it, there are some more libraries we have. Okay, so in that, at one level up, you will have SQLite database and all that, whatever we store that, SSL for connections and all that. Then OpenGL, Surface Manager, if your phone is your touch screen or whatever, right? So, and a WebKit, another is that. Apart from that, the main important thing is Android runtime. Okay, so here we are going to see this in a detail later on. So right now, Android runtime is there. Okay, before that, there Dalvik virtual machine, right? But right now, the whole bunch is came up with the Android runtime. Okay, at the top of it again, some more application frameworks we have into that, activity managers, right? Viewing systems, notification managers. So yesterday, as I told you, that whatever notifications you are getting from the base, like your phone is a low battery and whatever, that kind of notifications came. So how that is going to manage? Then location managers, resource managers, some context related informations, that is telephony managers. Okay, so all these informations are going to handle by this particular layer. And at the top we have applications, right? So whatever applications you are seeing at the top, like home, contacts, phone, some browsers are there, camera application is there inbuilt, that some applications come up with the particular handset whatever you buy, right? And some third party applications you can download from the Play Store and all that stuff. Okay, so here we are talking about the core basic functionalities, right? Okay, after that we have seen there are lots of frameworks available, okay, for the Android development. Okay, and here are some another frameworks. One picture I have found and I put that. Okay, so that is again very useful. So like a Cordova, right? Snatcha Touch, Xamarin, Kotlin, Ionic, right? React Native, then Corona SDK. Okay, Flutter is there, Native Script is there, Phone Gap is there, right? So right now in the market, and day by day, lots of frameworks are coming up. New frameworks are coming up as per the requirements, right? So there are a lot more tools we have right now to develop the particular Android applications. Okay, now let's talk about the particular architecture in a detail. That first we talk about the Linux kernel. Okay, so what is it? Linux kernel is the bottommost and important layer of Android architecture, and that is the core part of Android architecture, right? So as I told you that all the core functionalities whatever are there, so that resides within the Linux kernel. So it provides the features such as security, process management, memory management, device management, and the multitasking, right? It is not only limited to this, but it is also responsible for level of abstraction. I hope you can understand the meaning of abstraction. So as I told you in my first session that you just brush up with your previous Java language knowledge, so you will get these terminologies better in this subject. So abstraction between a device hardware and the upper layers of the Android architecture, right? So it consists the device drivers. So basic drivers functionalities, utilities like camera, memory, display, keyboard, Wi-Fi, all these particular utility drivers resides within the particular Linux kernel. Okay. After that, some libraries we have. So what is the meaning of libraries? So at the top of Linux kernel, some libraries we have. So this layer consists of set of different libraries. We have also seen in the architecture and the Android runtime and the Android runtime. Now, the Android component is built using native codes and require native libraries which are written in C, C++. And the most of the libraries are open source libraries like OpenGL. Yesterday we talked about, right? So that kind of libraries, some of the libraries are open source libraries that can also be used within that, right? Also, this layer handles the data that is specific to hardware, that is specific to hardwares. Like suppose Surface Manager is there, that is your device touch screen and all that. Okay. After that, some native libraries here listed out like SSL, SQLite, libc, OpenCL, Media Framework, Surface Manager, and all that, whatever we have seen in our architecture design. Okay. Next is the Android runtime. So it comprises the DVM, and we have seen that DVM is the Dalvik virtual machine. Now, just like Java that uses the JVM, right? So Android uses a DVM to optimize the battery life, memory, and the performance, right? So in Android, we are going to use DVM for this.
So,
Yes.
sir, actually, I have a doubt in previous slide. Often, people speak about native, the word native, but I never understood the meaning of native. So, what does native mean over here? Like native codes and native libraries.
See, native codes and native libraries means, right? Suppose say I'm right now, suppose we are talking about the mobile application development, right? So in mobile application development, how many ways are there? So first of all, we have Android, second Linux, right? And the third category is Windows, most probably, right? Now, if I want to create the Android application, then I need to go for Android. If I want to create the Apple devices application, then I need to go for iOS. And if I want to go for Windows mobile phones, then I need to create that application in Windows form. Right. But nowadays, apart from this, suppose if you talk about the Ionic, right? So Ionic is purely based on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So what does it mean if you don't have knowledge of Android, if you don't have knowledge of iOS, right? So what does it mean, the knowledge of Android and iOS? Android uses Java, right? Android uses Java or Kotlin, right? iOS uses Swift or Objective C. So what does it mean? These are the native languages. These are the native languages which are used to create Android and iOS. Okay, but with the use of Ionic, with the use of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, still you can create the mobile applications which are compatible with the Android and iOS. So this is not a native. This is not the native libraries or native mobile applications, which is called native mobile applications, which is purely created in Android with the use of Java or Kotlin, or in iOS with the use of Swift or Objective-C. So this is known as the native applications.
Sir, so anything which is OS specific is native, such as
Yes,
if,
exactly. Yes,
okay.
exactly. Right? So that is native. I hope I solved your doubt, right? Okay. So let's go ahead. Here, in this Android runtime, we are going to use the Dalvik virtual machine. The bytecode generated by the Java compiler has to be converted into .dex file. So here in Java we have .class file. Similarly, we here have .dex file. It is the bytecode. It is the bytecode, and that is read by the DVM. That is read by the DVM. Now, also multiple class files are created as one DEX file and compressed into jar file. Compressed into jar files. So in Java language, we have seen up to the JDK, Java Development Toolkit, and in that we have seen the basic functionalities of the programming and all that stuff. But if you go for advanced Java, then you can create the jar files. Jar files are nothing but the basically is the compiled is the bunch of compiled class files. So more than one class files are compiled and stored into the jar files, and later on you can use it, right? So is a greater than the uncompressed dex file. So similarly, here you need to understand that these terminologies you need to remember, right? So Java has the dot class file, and here it uses the JVM to execute it. Here in Android, we have a DEX file. It is the bytecode, and it can be read by the DVM. Okay. Apart from that, the upper layer is the application framework layer, right? So application framework layer is built on the top of native library layers that provides us with the application programming interface. That is your API. That is your API and higher level services. Now, the features of the Android operating system are available to us through APIs written in form of Java classes, right? So whatever programming we are going to perform, so we are going to perform that programming in Java language. Okay, so that's why it is there. And Android developers uses these high level services to build the applications. So in our architecture, we have seen that. Now it also consists of HAL, that is the hardware abstraction layer, and that allows the Android application framework to communicate with hardware specific devices driver. So suppose say there is a camera, there is a GPS, okay, there is a Wi-Fi. So these are the particular hard Wi-Fi network, Wi-Fi adapter, you can say. So these are the particular. Hello.
Sir, I had another doubt.
Yes.
Sir, can you explain APIs a bit?
API means the application programming interface, right? So what does it mean? Suppose say if I want to create one button, right? So suppose if you are writing the this particular, you can create the calculator kind of application in C also using graphics library, right? But what it can do for this, just creating one simple button, you need to write a lots of lines of code, lots of lines of code. Okay, points you have to set, you have to set, and all that stuff, right? But here in this particular advanced IDEs, right, they are using the API concept. So what does it mean? To just create a button, you can drag and drop, and automatically in a background it will create the particular code for you, right? And for that, what you need to do, you need to just import that particular button libraries or module, right? So to create that, whatever inbuilt background classes and files are required, so that is provided by these APIs. That is provided by these APIs. So whenever you create any project, new project in Android, so at that time it will ask you to select the API level. API level. So right now the API level is 30 latest, right? So what does it mean? Means this contains the updated libraries and files within it, right? And that is used to develop the applications. That is used to develop the Android applications based on this 30 version. This is the version number, 30 version number. Okay, so basically it contains the bunch of files, libraries, and tools that is used to create the Android application. I hope you clear with this, right? Now,
Yes.
okay, good. Now, another where we were, yes, it act as an interface for hardware vendors to implement an Android application uses this hardware abstraction layer APIs to get commands from different hardware devices. Like suppose if you are using another hardware, okay, third party another hardware, and if you want to connect that, right? So suppose say for example right now we are using OTG and all that, right? So with the use of that you can connect that with your mobile phones, and you can access the pen drive and all that stuff within it, right? So it also provides the interface between the different vendors to implement Android applications to get the commands and use these kind of third party hardwares, different hardwares, not only the inbuilt things, right? But it also uses the third party hardwares and it supports. Okay. Now here I have put one application. I found this picture good. So I took it from the data players, and this is a wonderful pictures. So it provides the application framework services. So what kind of activity, content, resource manager, view system, and notification managers, right? So this is just that we have seen in our architecture design. Okay. So in this, what is the function of each and everything is at the top that application framework consists the following key services. So in that first is activity manager, right? So the method in this class uses testing and debugging methods. Okay. Content provider means it provides data from application to other layers. So we have seen that in architecture there are layer concept, and different layer has its own functionality. So the content provider's job is it provides the data from one layer to another layer and all that. Resource manager, it provides the access to non-code resources. Okay. So suppose if into that some resources are there that is based on hardware and all that, so that also supports, right? Notification manager, it user gets the notification about all the actions happening in a background. See, so suppose whenever you are using your phone, right, and in a background your battery level is 10%, then it will give you the notification that your phone is running out of battery or the power is low, battery power is low, right? Then view system, so it acts as a base class for widgets, or here widgets are our buttons and all that stuff, checkbox, radio buttons and all that, progress bar and all that stuff. is responsible for event handling, right? So whenever button is clicked, then what you want to perform and that kind of stuff, it can handle, right? So the specifically one unit is there, third unit for this views and views group. Okay, so we'll see in a detail at that time. So each and everything we'll see in a detail. This is a particular topic, this particular service, each particular service is a topic, right? So whenever time comes, so at that time we'll see in a detail, don't worry about it. Okay, now, and the final layer is the application layer, right? So it is the topmost layer of the Android architecture, and this layer consists of a native Android application. So now here, what is the meaning of native Android application? Number one, can you say that?
Yes, sir. So the applications which are very specific to Android,
Yes,
uh, that is the layer
that
consists of native.
yes, the come up that applications which came up with the phone, right? So which kind of applications came up with the phone, like camera, then contacts, right? Then phone, what is your call? We can say it's a call or phone, whatever. If you go in a setting, then you will see this, right? So this kind of services are called as a native Android applications, and third party applications that we are going to download from the play stores, that we are going to download from the play stores. Now they are bundled in Android package, and all the applications that are to be installed are written in this layer, such as contacts, games, some inbuilt games also we have. Okay, and settings, this is most important core functionality, right? And the messages are also inbuilt applications. So these particular applications are known as the native Android applications, right? And whatever Instagram and whatever Facebook, that applications you download from the Play Store, that are known as the third party install applications. So I have given lots of time in explaining the Android architecture. So I hope you all have clear with the Android architecture, right? So many a times we have discussed about each and everything in a detail. So now onwards, if anytime if I ask you the question about the Android architecture, then you should be able to answer. You must be able to answer that. Are we clear with this, guys? Is there any doubt in this Android architecture?
No,
Any
sir.
doubt? Okay, right. So now let's move ahead. So we have seen the Android architecture. Now let's talk about some programming languages for Android application development. So here I have listed that some of the programming languages like Java, Kotlin, C Sharp, Python, C, C++, Corona, that uses the Lua. Corona is a framework, 2D framework, right? And it uses the Lua language and the basics, that is the traditional language we have. But the most popular Android programming languages is the are these two, that is Java and Kotlin. Okay, you can also put the Python and you can run that code. Okay, right? But most of the people are using Java and Kotlin, right? And from that we are going to learn Java with this. Okay, now let's talk about the Android Studio a little bit, right? What is Android Studio? So we are going to use Android Studio for the development of our Android applications, right? So Android Studio is the official ID for Google's operating system, that is Android, right? Now it is built on JetBrains. So JetBrains is a one company, that is one organization, IntelliJ IDEA Software. So JetBrains provides a wonderful set of IDEs, I hope you know the meaning of IDEs, right? So it provides a different set of IDEs, and it also provides the Android Studio. It is the based on Android Studio. Android Studio is based on this IntelliJ IDEA software, right? And is specifically for Android Studio or a Android application development. This can be used on Windows, Mac OS, or Linux, right? Any of the platform you can use this. Now, Google announced the Android Studio as the primary IDE for native Android apps on 16th May 2013 at the Google I/O conferences. So, what do you mean by Google I/O conferences? So, Google every year holds this kind of conferences, right? So, whatever new products they have launched, whatever new features they have added, and all that stuffs are going to talk in this particular Google I/O. So I insist you everyone to watch these kind of events, guys, right? So you will get the idea where right now the particular world is going on. What kind of applications are we are using, we are not using, right? What kind of research are going on in this mobile application developments, okay, right? What kind of facilities they are going to provide. So as I told you that nowadays our smartphone is not just a smartphone, right? You can do most of the things from your smartphones, right? So I insist you to watch these kind of events. You can search Google I/O events on the YouTube, and you will find the list of events of every years. Similarly, if you are Apple users, then also Apple is also holding every year the Apple events, right? Okay. Now, Java was the official language of Android Studio for Android app development, which was recently replaced by the Kotlin on 7th May 2019. So you can see that Kotlin came up only within the 1 year ahead, 1 year back, right? 7th May 2019 means 1 or 2 year back. Okay, so now most of the companies are jumping into the Kotlin programming language, right? Though many of the users, many of the companies, developers are still stick to the Java because they are handy with the Java programming language, because Kotlin is a new programming language, so they need to learn the Kotlin. Okay, to learn the Kotlin is not a difficult task, right? But you just need to give some time and dedication. Okay, but if you are comfortable with Java, then you can learn the Kotlin more better and more faster. Now, what are the features of Android Studio, right? So it's a Gradle build support. Okay, so whenever you create any Android application, and you will see first things is Gradle executed successfully, and that kind of stuff, you will see the message at the bottom, right? So Gradle is a build tool, right? Gradle is a build tool that you build the end, right? So this is wonderful. You just click on a run button, and in a background this particular Gradle will work for you, and it will build the application for you, right? It lets debug the code easily. So code debugging facility is there, and has a quick fix. So if you are not aware, some kinds, suppose say for example, sometimes if I'm creating a button, in if I forgot to import the widgets package, then it will show me the quick fix. It will show me the quick fix. So when I click on that icon, and if I click on fix button, then it will add these particular widgets package for me automatically. I don't need to write it even, right? There are lots of error fixing, warning fixing facilities it provides. So it has a quick fix facility. There are link tool that catches the performance issues, usability, and version compatibility problems, right? So it provides an inbuilt lint tools. And what is the job of that lint tools? It catches the performance issues and all that. So it also uses to find some errors and warnings, right? It has a template based wizard, right? That helps in creating common Android designs and layouts. So whenever you are creating a new project, then the first screen will be templates, right? So that particular templates are basically given to you by default, okay? And you can just directly click on it and you can use it, right? So whenever we covered this Android Studio ID in our lab session, then I will explain in detail. This has a rich editor and allow us to drag and drop UI components. So as I told you that in C, if you want to create a button, then you have to write a lots of lines of code. But here, suppose if you want to create a button, then you just need to drag and drop from the palettes, right? Now, it has a rich color preview editor, and that lets us add color and color name in the resource directories, right? So for that, you can see that whenever this also I will cover in, you can say our lab session, practical session. So what you can do, what it says that it provides a rich color. So separately one color preview was is there, and it provides the lots of colors, right? So you can use that particular colors for your Android applications, right? So these are the particular features of Android Studio. I hope up to this, is there any doubt, anyone, guys?
Sir, can you explain Gradle build once again?
Gradle build is a build tool, right? So as we have compilers and all that stuffs, right? So whenever you are, if you have worked with the advanced Java or Eclipse and what that kind of stuff, right? So Gradle is a build tool for this to build your application, right? So what is the meaning of building the application? Means when you click on a run button, then automatically it find out the error on that stuff. If you have error, then you have to solve that error. But if you don't have any error, then successfully your applications is going to build. Okay. So for that, to compile and all that, inbuilt, all the processes are done by this Gradle tool, right? And after that, your APK bundle is going to generate, your APK file is going to generate it. Okay, so all that background compiling, running, debugging, and all that stuff will be carried out by this build tool. Are we clear?
So basically, Gradle tool is a compiler which, if there are no errors are found in the application,
Yes, yes, it's a
then the
build tool.
application
Yeah,
then the application is built and then run on our emulator or the phone.
yes, exactly. Right?
Okay.
Is there any doubt, anyone, guys? Okay, so we'll see this Android Studio in a detail in our next session. Are we clear with this? Okay,
Yes.
so I'm going to end this session. Have a nice day. Take care.
So, excuse me, sir.
Yes.